Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the District Administrator Responsibilities session. How many brand new district administrators do we have this morning? Oh, got a couple. Well, welcome. I'm Jenny Carter with the Department of Education. I have Denise Schuyler and Naomi Colas with me today. Remove your district approval. There's only one district administrator. The current one needs to remove their access before the new one can add it for them. If that isn't done and the district administrator leaves, NDE can help you remove those accesses. The new superintendent that comes in will create a new portal account. If they have a current account from a different school, they can continue to use that, but they would go to the My Profile tab and update your contact information. I'm not real good with this. Update your phone number and your email address. Then the NDE Help Desk will give out the district activation code to the new superintendent, district administrator. That is added into the My Profile tab. And that's the one-time use. You only have to do that once. Once NDE approves that new district administrator, you will get that district admin tab on your portal account. This is where you manage all of your users for your district. These slides are available, will be available to you, and we're also recording this session also. So under your district administrator tab, you have the collection activation codes on all the different user types and some reports for you to manage your districts. So reminder, NDE does not give out activation codes to your staff, so they will come to you because you know who needs access to what. NDE doesn't know that. Under the collection activities tab, button right there, this will list all of the collections in the portal. Once you choose that drop down, you get a whole list of collections. Every collection on the portal has an activation code. So you select the one that you want. In this case, we selected the student unique ID. And then on that same page to the bottom, the activation codes will appear on the bottom. You will see there's different user types right there. And it will show you who currently has access in your district to that collection. The activation codes are a 10-digit alphanumeric code. It's there in the yellow highlighted. So you give that code to your staff and they add it into their portal account. And there's different user types for each collection. This one here has a data user type and a search only. Some collections may have multiple, like CDC has finance, staff, discipline. So you want to make sure that you give them the correct activation code. Some codes are single use only. So if one person has it and another person needs it, that first person will need to remove it from their portal account for the other person to add it to theirs. You can remove users from the collections by clicking, that's under the collection activation tab. And you choose the collection, and when you see the staff there, that's where you remove staff from the collection. There's reports that help you manage your staff, the administrator reports. And then when you click on that, you will get under the choose report, there's two reports, district user and a collection user report. The district user report is listed by your staff. It'll list every staff that has an activation code entered, and it'll show you what collection they have, the user type, and the date that it was added. Like here, this example, Denise has unique ID district user. And the collection user report is listed by collection. So you would choose a collection there in the top. I think they're all listed on there. You just find the one that you need. And it'll show you for the ILCD website, it'll show you who has it, all of the collections. It'll show you who has access. So you can look up by the user, or you can look up by the collection. These reports can be exported in several different formats for printing or saving on your computer to manage your staff. And you might want to do this a couple times a year so you can know, well, this person has left or this person has moved over to a different area within your district, so they might not need access to that collection anymore. They might need something else. So when you return to the collection activation codes, again, that's where you would remove staff. So the collection activation codes gives you the codes and the option to remove staff, or the administrator reports gives you two reports to manage your staff. And advisor validation, we'll hand this off to Naomi, and she can show you some of the things there.
Hi everyone. Hopefully I get to meet some of you because I've probably worked with you, but I'm fairly new to the help desk, so I haven't actually met some of you, but hopefully later. Okay, so advisor validation. This is going to be kind of where you're going to go at the year end and what you're going to look at within that collection specifically. So we're going to talk about errors and warnings. We're going to look at some verification reports and look at the various categories there. We're going to talk about the approval process and then discuss the lookups feature. So just another helpful tool for you. So kind of think of it as step one. When you log into advisor validation, kind of the first thing you want to look at is your errors and your warnings. We'll look at kind of how you review them and then also how you reprocess them. Say you're making the changes in your SIS and you want to look and make sure that you fixed it correctly, how you reprocess those errors. So when you log in to advisor validation, the top section is going to have your errors and they're going to be listed by domain, so the specific sort of category that the error impacts. Once you click on that domain, it's going to list, you may have multiple errors here, it'll list them by number, but it'll also list the actual error itself. So to the right is going to be your number of errors and then also your number of warnings. So if it's blue, click it, you'll click through and be able to view the students impacted. So you may have some in the errors column, you may have some in the archive warning column. It's important to review both of those, but you'll start with the errors because those are going to be the most important ones. So a critical error is one that you can't archive because it's really critical. It's important that you look at it and adjust the data as needed. A regular error is likely you can archive it, but again, it's really one that you want to look at and make sure that it's really the data you want to report. And then this is kind of a new feature here, this column over here, and it's not in advisor validation just yet, but it will be soon. And it's going to list any errors that you've archived, or it's going to have what are called warnings. So an issue that may or may not need to be fixed, but one that we've said, hey, take a look at this. And then also informational count. So it's similar to a warning, but it may not be an issue, but again, it's one of those hey, heads up, take a peek at this, because this may not be right. So once you click on the number that was to the right of the column, this part here, you're going to see the error list at the top, and the most important thing for us is the descriptor underneath. That descriptor should you exactly how to fix that error. So it should say, you know, go to your SIS, update, well, what's this one say? Student has a school enrollment record within your district, but the student's demographics record has not been reported. So that means go to your SIS, make sure that the demographics data is either publishing or syncing or whatever it needs to be doing. And then there will be students listed underneath of the blue bar, and those are the students that are impacted by the error. So if you decide, okay, this is a kiddo that I'm reporting correctly, it may not show up as right, I'm going to archive this error because, you know, maybe a data steward is archiving the error, and then you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, I want to make sure that my data steward has reviewed this and has said it's acceptable. You can edit the error itself. It'll give you a pop-up box, and you can put the comments in there. So let's say you're waiting on another district to make an update to the system. You can put in there that you're waiting for XYZ district to make that update for you. And then you hit the blue update button right there, and it'll add the comment or archive the error. So a new feature that just kind of came out recently is reprocessing the error individually. So this is really helpful if you don't want to like do everything, because it takes a little bit of time for the error to reprocess. So let's say you just have this one error and you just want to reprocess this error because you made an update to your SIS and now you want to see if that update came through to advisor. You click on that reprocess errors button and it's just going to reprocess the one. Now, that's going to take you to what the reprocess errors section right here. And it's going to list the errors that you're reprocessing. So right here it says one error reprocessing. Here's my status. You can hit this refresh button and it'll kind of update as it goes. It does take a little bit of time. If you are like, you made a couple updates to your SIS and you want to just reprocess everything in Advisor, you can hit this button. And it'll take a little bit longer, but down here it'll say it's reprocessing all of your errors. So that's kind of a last check to make sure there's no new errors popping up there. Come on. Okay, so verification reports. Once you've gone through your errors and you've said, okay, this. So this is an area where there's two different categories. You'll probably spend the majority of your time in the student category. I'll discuss that a little bit as to why. But this is where you're going to review the data that's going to show up for state reporting. And this is where you might see, okay, I didn't report any third graders, or because NDE is not going to be able to say you didn't report any third graders. But this is where you'll review your reports to see if there's like maybe missing data to a certain category. So you open up the reports and you've got the various categories. And each one of these is like an accordion. If you click on it, it opens up the reports that are within it. Keep an eye on the bulletin. We'll list those new reports. We'll list new errors there. So then, like I said, each category opens a list of reports. And anything over here, you've got your fall, and then you've got your fall and year end. You'll want to look at anything that says year end for the June period. If you find an issue in your report, you'll update your SIS data, you'll send the data to Advisor, and then you'll come back to your report and review it. So there's a couple things once you, let's say you click on this contract out students report. At the top, you'll have a couple different options. And what's important right now is the reporting window. And I'll kind of get into it, but there's various categories that you want to look at. And that'll help you kind of define your data further for your report. The reports can be exported. So let's say you have a SPED person that you want to review the report that doesn't necessarily have access to Advisor validation. You can export the report into an Excel document, into a PDF. You can save it electronically, email it to them. You can print it out. That's a helpful tool if you need other people looking at your reports. And then if you make that update to your SIS, you can refresh the report right here. So you don't have to go all the way back out and reprocess errors and any of that stuff. And then I think something that's really helpful here is searching within the report. So we use this a lot if we're trying to figure out like why one kiddo is showing up differently than we thought they would. You can put in their student ID here, you can put in a name, and it'll search the entire report for that information. So what I found really helpful as a new person when I started looking at these reports is the information that's, you actually click through the report, and then at the top of it, there's like a paragraph, here's the high ability learners. And it really details specific things about that report that can be really helpful for you. Kind of the nuances that maybe you've been here for a while and you know those, but as a new person, I didn't necessarily know those, so this part was really helpful for me. Here's what I was talking about, the reporting windows. So when you select here, right now you see full year as of today, as of October 1st, and then as of October 1st locked. What you're reviewing, and I have this red here as of today, because that's the information that we're looking at for year end. It's the kiddos that are enrolled in your district right now on this day. If you select full year, you'll get a full scope picture of like any kid, any day, any time. So even if the kids exited out or any of that, they'll show up. And then the October 1st locked is the information that we kind of snapshotted in November for your October 1. And then once we get through year-end collection, you'll see this new one, and it's as of end of year locked. So it's the information that was submitted for state reporting. But for right now, as of today, it's the one you want to review for that end of year. Okay, so I didn't really talk about it, but all the student data is in advisor validation, is mostly student data. There's a separate report category called staff. And it's important to note that this is kind of one of the main categories here. It's the advisor dashboard staff reports. That doesn't have anything to do with staff reporting. The old school way of going into the portal, the staff reporting collection, you're still doing that. And you're still actually going to NSSRS validations to review errors on your staff. The staff reports that are in Advisor are related to student level data. So these reports here, teachers' courses, teachers' no courses, they actually show up in the student section as well. So they're kind of duplicated. Okay, and then kind of your last tool when you're researching information in Advisor is your lookups. Enrollment lookup by ID and student lookup by ID are ones that we are using constantly when we're researching an issue. So the enrollment lookup by ID is really great because it shows one kiddo's enrollment for multiple years. So you put their student ID in there, and then you've got 18-19, you've got 17-18, all the NSSRS stuff from the past is showing up in here. So you can see if a kiddo changed districts or if they're transferring in and out. It's just a really helpful picture to see that one kiddo's enrollment. And then the other one that's super helpful is the student lookup by ID. And that's going to give you all the records that your district is reporting on that kiddo. So it's got demographics, enrollment, SPED, any courses, grades, and it's going to show it all in one page and section it out. So this is really helpful to you. It's got the enrollment again, and it's got program information. There are a couple other ones down here, student lookup by demographics, special education, and those get a little bit more specific, but we'll review those in the advisor validation presentation, but for now, I'm going to show you the approval process. So end of year comes, your data steward has made sure everything's cool, you're ready to approve your data. If everyone's going to see this district admin sign off here, but if you are not the district admin or the superintendent, you will not be able to approve anything. So this page is intentionally gives you this error message. Now, if you're the superintendent, you're going to get this, and probably some of you saw this in the fall if you were approving data. But it's going to have the acknowledgement section up top, and then really, most importantly, underneath of that, it's going to have all the reports, and mind you, these are from fall, but it's going to have all the reports that you should review. So make sure you can go into this section, look at the reports, and then go back out of it. You don't have to approve right away, but go in here and view the reports that are listed here, because those are the ones you want to look at before you approve your end of year data. And then at the bottom, there is an edit button. You click on that, and this tiny little box here, you click, and then you update, and that's it. It's really quick and simple. So the time you spend is really looking at those reports. Once you do that, it'll have a date here, and in this box will be kind of grayed out, and that's it. Everything's approved and done, and you're good to go. So now we'll talk about consolidated data collections, or Denise will. Yeah.
And this may just be me being ignorant right now, but what is the point of archiving an error? What does that do for you?
So it would be like, let's say for an example, one district has a data steward, and they're the ones who manage a lot of this information. You could, as the data steward, you do the due diligence to make sure that that information is correct. And you can leave a note or a comment in here to another person who's reviewing the data saying, hey, I followed up with this district. They're supposed to fix the information. We're just waiting for them to do that. Or they could be speaking to the superintendent and say, hey, superintendent, we know this is an error, but actually NDE Help Desk said that we need to keep it here. So I'm noting it so that you see that this is an error that we're not going to fix. We're going to leave it in there, and we're going to approve the end of your data with that listed there, because that is the correct way of reporting.
So it's more like a memo type.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I had another one. It's the same one.
Well, if you think of it,
It was dealing with editing a section of an error, which would be
really the only way to edit, or you're only commenting the error or you're archiving it. Those are really your two options. Otherwise, you're fixing the error, and then it just disappears once you fix it, once you update your SIS with the correct info. Okay, you ready, Denise?
Where does this go? Okay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the CDC, the Consolidated Data Collection. And we're going to talk about what it is, activation code user types, and the approvals on the individual collections. Oops. Up. Nope. My bad. Okay. So the CDC Consolidated Data Collection is located under your Data Collections tab in your portal. Click on the actual collection name to get into the collection. There are multiple activation codes, user types. Ginny kind of mentioned that, I think. The general, federal, staff, financial, etc. You can limit your users to a particular category. There's an all activation code that gives them access to all of the different CDC collections. That means they can enter and submit data. The approver is one user, and it only works on the superintendent or district administrator's portal account. So the district administrator does have to do the approval on all of the collections. MIPS is unique because of the sensitive data that's in there, so even the all or the approver activation code does have to add the MIPS collection activation code to actually enter into that collection. Okay, so here's the different categories: federal, general, MIPS. So if someone only has a federal, they'll only be able to do the collections that have the federal. If they have the all, they can do them all. I have a hard time seeing this. Okay, and then this is helpful for your superintendents who want to know whether or not your collection has been submitted yet and it's ready to approve. So those two columns off to the right, if you see the yes in the submitted, that means your data steward or whoever has submitted the data, they've entered it, they've submitted the collection. You need to go in and review it and approve it. So yes, yes, you're done. Yes, no, you need to approve. There are a couple of collections in the CDC that require no submittal or approval because they're those requests to submit data late or graduation cohort resolution requests, which is just asking NDE for help. Off to the far right, we have the due date for each of the collections. That's the date the data is due to NDE. There is an audit window where you can be reviewing your data, NDE will be reviewing your data. And that, during that audit window, changes can be made. Once the audit window has passed though, this is an open collections. Down below this, there's closed collections. So once that audit window passes, the collection will move to the bottom closed collection and it will not be able to be accessed any longer. So this is how you'll go in and approve it. Once it's been submitted, there'll be a date and whoever submitted the collection. And then you as the district administrator will hit the little approve button there and your name and date, the time you did it will go in there. Now, once the collection has been submitted, changes can still be made. Once it's been approved, no changes can be made. If it's before the audit window close date, you can contact us at the help desk. We can open the collection and changes can be made. So say NDE staff contacted you and said, hey, this doesn't look right. We can still make changes as long as that audit window hasn't passed. Once the audit window has passed, that's when that request to submit data later, make data changes comes into play. So now we'll just talk about year-end and the due dates. The year-end reporting, which is the advisor validation review that we've just went over, your staff and NSSRS data, consolidated data collections, those are those standalone collections under the data collection tab, and due dates. So this is the stuff that we're going to be looking at year end. This is the stuff you'll need to be looking at to make sure is accurate. Your student demographics, enrollment records, attendance, discipline, et cetera, your programs. And as Naomi mentioned, you want to review the as of today data. You want to look at your membership, your graduates, your dropouts, attendance for ADA, ADM, state aid. These are all your important validation verification reports that you need to look at. Staff reporting. I think this was mentioned yesterday too. Your SPED IDEA grant no longer will accept the SPI code for your SPED. That must be an I. So you want to make sure that all of your staff are being reported correctly for that collection or for that grant, because no changes are going to be made next year to staff reporting for 18-19. You have your NSSRS validations available still for reviewing all of your staff data, your staff verification reports. There is a new report out there this year. It is your NEP teacher demographics, so you want to make sure you look at that. Consolidated data collection. These are the ones that have changes. So the NEP information collection now has grade levels you can choose. You will use, okay, yes. Okay, districts no longer have to submit your NIA. NDE will use the latest NEWA map. Days in session, instructional program hours. You no longer have to do the days in session part, but you do have to go in and do the instructional program hours part. Report of suspensions, expulsions. You do have to go into the collection, the data we are collecting through Advisor, but you do need to go into the collection and check the assurances box. And the ESU District System School Information Report will now let you choose the grade levels for elementary and middle school. And these are the collections that are currently open. They've been open for a while. There's no changes. substitute teacher, human resources, annual participation report. These are all due May 1st, non-public federal programs within boundaries, Title I non-public consultation, all due tomorrow. With the audit window on May 15th, right? Yeah, audit window to May 15th. Special education post-school outcomes, that one is due today. That's a data collection, standalone collection under your data collections tab, along with the AQuest DBA, and post-school survey now has a standalone collection for you basically to just upload your file like you did last year in Data Manager. It's eventually going to be in the advisor. So due dates are due dates. That's been said many times over the years. Due date versus audit window, due to NDE on the due date. Audit window is when the collections close. And that request to submit data late or make data changes will be with extenuating circumstances. We have resources for you for advisor, CDC, and help desk. The advisor resources page will give you your calendar, advisor guidance. You'll also have a link to the Google site where there's SIS guidance, district advisor monthly meetings, advisor workday schedule, so you can attend the workdays. This is the resources page. Whoops, sorry. That's the Google site. That's the Google site. So there's a lot of different things here. You'll see the meetings, the NDE resources, SIS vendor resources, calendar, advisor workdays. CDC you can actually get from here. Whoops, doggone. Right there will take you to that site. And to get to us, advisorhelp@nebraskacloud.org. The portal email submission sends the email to that same email address. Our toll-free number is voicemail only. And we do want to mention that we have VST virtual support team and consortium help this year, helping us